Hello and welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. I'm your host, Andrew Moses. With me today, a very, very special guest, none other than Christie Pearce Rampone, the three-time Olympic gold medalist, two-time World Cup champion, and Captain America, nonetheless. Christie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew.
Christie, it's great to have you here. I want to talk all about your career and your leadership. I mean, it's not every day we get to talk to Captain America on Everybody Pulls the Tarp. But I want to go back to your college days because it's always been interesting to me as I have followed your career. You went to Monmouth University on a basketball scholarship, but you played basketball, you played lacrosse, and you played soccer. And then obviously you went on to have a storied career on the soccer field. So talk about that for a minute. How did you navigate those three sports and then end up in soccer?
Yeah, I think just growing up, I was a multi-sport athlete and kind of just didn't have a love for just one. So I just continued to play field hockey in high school, basketball and soccer. And then I got the call from Monmouth University to play basketball, but I also was allowed to play soccer. So I chose to go to a smaller Division I school. So I was able to compete in both. And it was just interesting because I just went through my college years, not realizing there was something else further along that maybe I could, be a part of, like the U.S. women's national team. And, I went there and I was in my senior year at Monmouth playing basketball. Soccer career I thought was over and done with. I finished my college season and I was on to basketball, and then I got the call up for the national team and my life changed. That was the first time in my life at age 22 that I was committing to one sport.
That's interesting. So essentially you get the call and then it's an easy decision,
Mm-hmm.
right? At that point?
It was a tough decision, to be honest, because I was on a basketball scholarship. I was the captain of the basketball team. And here I got the call up in January, which was right in the middle of my basketball season. So coaches, teammates really didn't quite understand what the call up meant. Back then, this is back in 97 where, the women's team wasn't really on TV. I didn't realize what the call up was for. I just thought it was a lot of seniors getting together and trying to figure out maybe what your next step or path in soccer would be. So they actually asked me to try in the summer. They didn't realize, no, if I don't actually accept this, I'll never get another call up. You just don't decline something of this stature. And we did some research, and I did my research. I met with the president, met with all my teachers, my AD, my coaches, both basketball and soccer, and my teammates, and they allowed me to play. So it was a tough process of, accepting that call up and then going out to California to, compete with the girls.
So you get out to California, your first national team camp. What's that experience like?
Oh, crazy. It was just the unknown. I didn't realize what I was getting into. I just got on that plane. It was my first time I was on a plane alone, flying cross country, and just the fear of the unknown. Was I good enough? What was the expectation going to be? So it was just so uncomfortable, to be honest with you. And until I stepped there, until I got there, and I realized oh my gosh, this is the team that just won the Olympics. My first meeting before I stepped on the field was the highlights from the 96 Olympic Games when they won gold. And I was just looking around in the room oh my God, all these faces, and these are big time athletes and players, and I'm in the same room with them. So it was just eye-opening, to be honest with you.
Were there mentors in particular or people who stood out that really put their arms around you when you arrived into camp?
Not at first, I think, because at that point it was so competitive, and they're just coming off a high. They're just getting back into the swing of things. So I was just trying to figure out where I fit in, what my role was. I was just watching and observing, listening. My role changed. I was a forward my entire life, from when I started playing soccer all the way through college, and I was transitioning to become a defender, not realizing that when I got there, but 3 days in. So at that point is when I felt the role models that I looked up to were, Joy Fawcett and Christine Lilly, and Brandy Chastain was a huge help for me and helped me organize and get comfortable in a new position.
So I hear there's a pretty funny story about when you get to camp, you came with a lot of luggage. What's that all about?
I came with a huge suitcase. Again, not being in that world of playing at an elite level, like I just expected it was just going to be like Monmouth, and we did our own laundry. We had our own responsibilities of being ready, prepared for the next day. So I brought my laundry detergent. I brought, 10 outfits, like, the just in case if it rained, if it, what the weather was like. And I quickly realized that this was big time and like I was getting gear. So I like slowly put my huge suitcase under my bed and tried to shove it in there, but people found out quickly.
That's funny. And you and I have talked about this, and this show is called Everybody Pulls the Tarp. And it's really based on a philosophy that I have, that great teams are powered by individuals who contribute far beyond the boundaries of their job description. So you come from a smaller Division I program, you get to national team camp, you're ready to go to do your own laundry, forget pulling the tarp. What are the small, like what are the little things maybe that people don't notice that you did to stand out, or the people maybe wouldn't notice if they were watching, but an expert might know that you did that really distinguished yourself from the pack?
I think just from the beginning, I was trying to be my authentic self and like just take a step back and know my role. Like here I am entering this team that's a championship winning team, and like I'm the rookie, I'm the newcomer. So I was just watching and observing and taking it all in and just putting my best foot forward. And, was I a soccer player yet? No, I was an athlete trying to become a great soccer player. So I was just using my strengths at that time. And then I would say I was just investing my time. To be honest, it was like investing my time to build relationships and create those relationships with my teammates to figure out like how the team was conducted, what were the standards, what are like the philosophies, and just trying to engage and learn and educate myself as much as I could.
So speaking of the standards and philosophies, the best team in the world. Yeah. I've heard you say that the practices on this team are in many ways harder than the games on the international level.
Absolutely.
Is it just the competitive? What is it about this environment?
Well, it's the best team in the world, and everybody wants to compete. And I think you grab so many competitive women trying to vie for a role and a spot on this team, and you have to show up every day and have that consistency and put it out there and make others around you better. So I'll never forget my first experience of like, getting into the corner and getting into like a mix up with Brandy and like kind of pushing and shoving, and it's a contact sport, but just like respecting the fact that like she was making me better by battling and not like letting me out easy, not giving me the easy road. And I learned really quickly that like you earn your spot on that team. It's not handed to you. And like that's why I respect those women that came before me, because they had standards and they pushed people, and just from their fitness to their mentality, all the way through.
So they call you Captain America. I want to get into all the leadership. And so when you're named captain, did being a captain just come naturally to you, or was it something you really had to work on?
No, being captain was something I work on because, I always saw a leader, a captain, someone that used their voice and was like outgoing and, had personality. And I would consider myself more on the quiet, shy, reserved side, like more consistent, like just, doing what I'm told, actions speak louder than words. And so I never thought I could be in that type of position until I realized how much respect my teammates had for me. And when they wanted me to be the captain and the coach, Pia Sundhage, asked me to be captain, I was actually kind of shocked. Like, you see something in me that I didn't even know was within me. And I realized that at that point, there are all different styles of leadership. It was just going to look a little different. And, having Abby by my side, and, I think we balanced each other out. And that's, part of sports is being able to have that good balance of, someone that was loud and motivating while someone else was like quiet and listening and observing and, helping people have confidence to be the best they can for the team. So
the other thing that's really, I was always fascinated about your career is the consistency, the dependability, whatever word you want to use. I mean, second all time in caps, but, behind Kristine Lilly and captain for a long time, not off the field too much, with injuries and things like that. Was there a trick just to staying healthy and so dependable?
I think just, consistent routines and like having good habits and realizing like every challenge I think that came was more of an opportunity to learn and grow rather than a threat. So I think if you're always thinking positive, because like I said earlier, my role changed. Like I learned so much through my mistakes and, and realizing like, that's not going to happen again. I need to continue on. And it just kind of the same mindset in that role of a leader and as a captain. It's like trying to stay positive, and anything negative that comes within the team, you try to like squash it. It happened and you have to move on, and living in the present and, like remembering what happened in the past, but still living in the present and continuing to move on.
How do you like tune out the stuff that happens in the past? How do you stay in the, I know elite athletes have this ability to, when they say get between the lines or however it's put, how do you focus?
It's like, the old saying composed under pressure, and that comes from that training environment, like practicing at game speed, making sure that you're always putting yourself in uncomfortable positions so that when you finally are there, you're relaxed, and you rely a lot on your teammates, that trust and respect, because each and every one of us bring a different quality. It's just, respecting each other and depending on them in those big moments. But the more you're surrounded by your teammates, the more you get to know them, the more prepared you are. And I think being prepared helps with that anxiety and to allow you to be like who you are in the field. Like I express myself in the field. That's like was my voice. Whereas off the field, I was probably didn't use my voice enough by, second guessing, not having the confidence off. But when I was on the field, like I felt ready, prepared. I felt like, that's where I shined.
How do you keep that cohesive group, that cohesive culture as a team when there is a lot of change every couple of years? There's younger players that come in, there's folks that retire. How do you maintain that culture? I mean, over such a long period of time, like you did, 19 years or right. Close to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the overall, we just have a certain standard at the highest level. And, that started with, the 99 team, and moving forward in that mentality of like, no matter how many seconds are left in the clock, we can still win. And I think that's been instilled throughout, but that's by creating that culture and that environment. But I think as the years have gone on, I think it's more about embracing the youth coming in and trying to give them the confidence to be who they can and not really comparing yourself to somebody else, because every player is so different. It's just trying to blend those relationships and making those relationships better. Because I always think if you're making the people in front of you, behind you, beside you better, like it's going to be a good culture.
And that culture, does it evolve at all over time, or do you feel like over the 19 years it's pretty consistent?
Solid. It's pretty solid, but there's personalities, right? And now, as sports advance, you have social media, you have different platforms, you have what we call distractions, and those can easily get in the way of those championship teams. And, we've seen it where we haven't won a championship, but we've learned from maybe what happened in the locker room or what wasn't working on the field. And as long as everybody's open to grow and they're not closed off or they don't have egos, we have to try to get those egos out of the locker room. You can have them when like you're home away from the field, but like when you're all together, like I think it's about just communicating and making sure that your teammates on and off the field. It's really important. That's why I like to say I've invested so much time in knowing my teammates so that I know when they're in a bad way, when they're confident, when like, maybe they're not getting along with the coach or they're not buying into the system. Like you have to have a good awareness, as a leader and someone that has been consistently within the team with people coming and going and, what's going to give people confidence and take away. It's just making sure you're watching and listening, because that's the most important thing, because a lot of times people are speaking and they're not hearing. And it's making sure that everybody's voice on the team matters so that you can come to a conclusion, because it's not really what's right. It's not really about who's right. It's about what's right, and if you have that ego, like I always have to be right, you're never going to embrace everybody around you and the team can't grow.
So when you assemble a team and you figure out your starting 11, is it the best 11 or is it the best combination?
I think it's the best 11 that work together, because if you just throw the best 11 out there, I'll be honest, like, look at the Brazilian women's national team. Like they have amazing individual soccer players that are technically gifted, but they can't bring it together because they don't know how to work together. They don't know how to like, press together, defend together, like the transition, the counters. And that comes with like I said, just getting to know your teammates and getting to know when you're in those tough moments, those tough 5 moments in a game, how do you come back? How do you bring the team back in to then get back to your true authentic self and not playing scared or not playing in fear and playing of that like power feeling of like, we can do this even though we're down 1-0 or it's not really going our way today. And that's all part of the culture of training together and being around each other.
I want to get into your upcoming book, which is exciting. But before we get to that, there was another huge challenge put before you with the Sky Blue FC. You're you're a player and a captain in 2009, and then they asked you to step in and be a player coach.
Right.
What's it like being a player and a head coach?
It was challenging, but fun at the same time. You realize how important like not only communication but clear communication is, and how vital it is to success, and just being honest, because when you are coaching at an elite level, pro level, like everybody is working so hard to earn that starting position. Everybody wants to be playing, right? So as long as you're honest and you explain everybody's role, and that roles can change, but I think if everybody feels bought in and they're buying into that system, like it's so crucial that the communication is honest and clear, so that everybody knows what page you're on and like what the outcome goal that you're looking for. And there's just those process goals, to get you to that outcome goal.
What's the biggest difference between being a team captain and then being a head coach?
Probably just your relationship. Like when I was team captain, everything was dealt amongst my players. I never went to the coach unless it was like the last result. Like I had to go to her and I needed like help. But throughout majority of my role as captain, it was all done within the team. And, as a coach, you can't really have those conversations or like bring in too much drama. So you kind of have to separate, to allow them to have their fun off the field, make them, let them have their balance in life. So, but the player coach was probably a little bit easier than being just a head coach, because I still had a little bit of control in the fields, because when you're playing, you feel the tempo, you feel, when players are struggling, or you can hear the voices that a coach can't hear from the sidelines. So I knew when like maybe things weren't working or someone was frustrated, where I can make changes. So, being a player coach is what it made me realize if I do coach someday, my assistant, I would love to make sure that they can play in training and practice so they can hear what's going on and the voices when you can't, when you're too far away.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So your book, very exciting, coming out August 18th, I believe. It's called Be All In. So tell me a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so the book is written, it's like a co-author, so it's written on a perspective of obviously an athlete, coach, mom, and Dr. Keane, who is a neurologist, so she's more the science behind, the brain development, and we just combined it because we felt like, as a coach, there's been so many challenging times with, athletes and parents and, the craziness, that, in this time of, I feel like kids are, and parents are having more of turmoil through sport rather than having a better relationship through sport. And, she was kind of seeing this stuff, same scenarios on, the injury side of parents just pushing kids to get back at it for like what reason. So, we came together and just wanted to give back and educate parents on how to have a better relationship with their kid through sport. And, there's so many life lessons you learn through sport. And if we can educate the parents, then they can help their kids through, the failure, the, lack of confidence, their responsibility, accountability, just all the life lessons that sports can teach you.
And when young girls and young boys look at Christie Pearce Rampone, what do you want your legacy to be?
I would hope that kids would look at my longevity of my career, my legacy to that. Like I was all in. I was there to make everybody around me better. Like I'm someone that always wants to give back and, just enjoy the sport that I was playing. Like the reason that I played till I was in my 40s was the passion for it. And it never died because I think I was constantly learning and growing and, adjusting to the times and the changes of sport. But that's the love of it. Like, it never gets boring, and you can continue to play and enjoy it, be happy, but like, you have to make sure that you're all in, be present in the moment and enjoy what sports can give to you.
Christie, this has been so much fun. It's always great to talk to another New Jersey native like you and I are. Thanks for joining everybody. Pulls the Tarp. Your career has been an absolute inspiration to sports fans and non-sports fans. And thank you for sharing a little bit of your perspective with us today.
Thanks for having me on the show, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.